With the release of version 9.5, Ableton included in several of Live's software instruments filter sections some analog modeled circuits. So what we had before was just a clean digital filter. We could select between low pass, band pass, high pass, and notch, and sometimes morphing. I don't remember if morphing was a part of previous versions or not, but the new versions, in cases like the operator and simpler and potentially a few other locations, we have the addition of analog modeled circuits. So we get some more grittiness, dirtiness, or kind of unpredictability in these filters. Using these in kind of their intended way, we can get just some kind of warmer, fatter sounds out of our digital world. But what I want to talk about today is how we can use this in a way that's actually really common in the analog world, especially when you think about modular synthesizers and things like that. But a little kind of unknown or undiscovered or untalked about feature is that when we switch out of this clean mode into an analog modeled filter circuit and we boost the resonance way up, all of a sudden we get a self-oscillating filter. So in a way, in places like the operator, we have a fifth, or if we count the LFO, a sixth oscillator that we can use. So let's take a look at how we would set that up and start using it as an oscillator. So let's jump over. First thing we'll do is drag and drop on an empty operator onto our track. Then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the filter section and switch it into one of our analog modeled circuits. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to turn off all of the oscillators, A, B, C, and D. So right now all we have turned on is our filter. I'm going to bring down the frequency to something that's not going to be painful to listen to, and start to play a note and bring up the resonance. There we go. We've got a self-oscillating filter. Bring down operator's volume a little bit so it's not so harsh. And now I want to set it up so that as I play different notes, I can actually get those different notes out of the filter. So if we go back, click on the filter section, you'll notice down towards the bottom here we have this freak is less than key sign, which really is frequency and key, or how much is key influencing the frequency or the filter's cutoff frequency. If I bring this up to 100%, now it moves with the incoming notes. But there's one more thing that I want to do, at least in most cases, not all cases, but in most cases, I want to make sure that the note that I play is actually the note that I get. So I'm going to go back to the browser. I'm going to bring in an audio effect, the tuner, after the operator. And then if I hold down any known note, so in this case I'm going to hold down a C, but it doesn't matter what note it is as long as I know which note that I'm holding down. So if I hold down that note, I can look at the tuner and see that right now I'm getting a really flat A flat. So I'm going to come to the frequency dial and just slowly sneak that up until I'm nearly at a C. Then let's try going 470. I'll just type it in. 471, just trying to get it right on C. 472. Close enough for me, 472. So now I can play all the notes that I want. So one thing that you should notice right away, without the exception of spending a lot of time tweaking the filter's envelope and trying to get that to control the filter self-oscillation. Even this I found is really tricky and almost impossible and essentially not practical to do. But I have had some success with using the pitch envelope, which actually we can turn off the destination A to which goes to the frequency of oscillator A, B, C, and D, and the LFO's rate. We can turn off all of those destinations and set up destination B to go to the filter's resonance, and then try and use that as a amplitude envelope over the filter's resonance or over the filter's output. But even this doesn't really work to any dependable way. So kind of the shortfall, and probably will always be this way, because I don't see this as being a feature that Live would come back and fix. But a shortfall is that there really is no amplitude envelope for this filter. So it's on and it's off. That's it. But when we start to bring in other oscillators, we can start to get some really crazy sounds. So let's start by bringing in oscillator A. And let's try going back to our filter and bringing up a little bit of the drive. Again, watching our volume here. Let's try messing with oscillator A's envelope. That's starting to get cool. Let's add in a little bit of shaper. Let's try a different circuit. Yeah. Let's try bringing in oscillator B, but I want to set it up so that it doesn't frequency modulate oscillator A. Let's bring that one in. Let's just try really cranking up the frequency on that one. And then let's bring up the level. Let's bring down the release of oscillator A a little bit. Bring up the level of oscillator B. Increasing the spread a little bit. If you're not listening with headphones on, I really hope, or a good pair of speakers, I really hope you are, because this is where things are starting to get good. Oscillator C. Cool, and let's try turning oscillator C on, but let's give it a looping envelope. So let's synchronize the envelope's loop duration, to a, let's try starting with quarter notes. That's what I'm talking about. Let's try switching to maybe a bandpass. You're notice that in Bandpass, we've only got one analog modeled circuit that we can work with, just the OSR. So let's use that one. Yes, that's sounding awesome, but what it needs now is some reverb. So I'm going to go to my browser, grab plugins. I really like Native Instruments RC48. Let's drag and drop that onto a turn track. Let's go to something huge like this piano cloud. Get rid of the built-in one there and start to crank up. Let's go mixer, sends. Oops, wrong track. Jump back to this track. Let's see what it sounds like down a couple octaves. Up a couple octaves. Yes. Maybe a little bit of delay. Add a little bit of feedback to that delay. Offset it a little bit and feed that into the reverb a little bit too. And let's really drive this thing home by adding in some filter or some envelope to our filter here. So let's go to the filter tab here, grab the envelope section, increase the amount of influence that this envelope has. Actually, let's start fairly modest. Give it a nice long time here. Start to shape that. So what this is doing is it's a graphic representation of how the filter's cutoff frequency is going to behave over time in relationship to the start and the stop of the note. So when I trigger the note, it'll begin the attack phase, and then according to the shape that I've got right now, it's going to sweep way down, get down to the sustaining value, then it's going to hold that sustaining value until I release the note, at which point it'll go through the release period, and that's how long it will go back to whatever the minimum value is for this envelope, or the filter's cutoff frequency take to get back to the minimum value. Whoop. So let's see what that does. Let's try a little bit sharper filter. Self-oscillating filters.